Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And my guest today is the vocalist, guitarist, lyricist for the black and death metal band Misyrion, who will be doing a run of Canadian dates this summer, starting in Victoria, British Columbia on July the 4th. Please welcome my guest, Claine Gorgoth Lamb. How are you?
Hey,
Welcome to
thank
the
you so
show.
much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for such a grand introduction.
Well, you're a real person with a real band and you got real things going on. You got a big tour coming up. Let's keep
Yes.
talking about that. Let's do some pimping and sell some tickets.
All right, let's pimp it out.
So you start in Victoria on July the 4th, you go as far as Quebec, then you come all the way back and you end in Vancouver on August the 2nd.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, are you psycho? You got a
Um,
crazy amount of dates booked in that amount of time, so a lot of miles happening. Are you prepared? Are you ready?
well, I mean, I guess we'll see. Like, this is the longest tour any of us have done, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, hopefully I'll be okay. I'm probably more stressed for my bandmates Sunshine and Connor because their other band is our touring partner, so they're performing twice a night. That'll be pretty intense. And then myself and the Crown of Madness bassist Rye will be the drivers. So we also have a lot of work to do, a lot of energy required. But
So,
oh,
yeah, so for all intents and purposes, though, we have two bands traveling in one vehicle as well. So that should add to the entertainment.
yes. Sorry, my camera's
Got a mind of
not.
all good. It's unruly.
Yeah, it's not on any sort of tripod or anything, so it's just
All good.
has a mind of its own right now.
All good. But yeah, two of you traveling in the same band, or sorry, say in the same van, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy because Misyrion were just a three piece, and then with Crown of Madness, they're also just a three piece, but the two members are shared. So there'll just be four of us in the van, and then on the island we'll have a media person, and then from London, Ontario, we have a friend joining to help with some driving. So for the most part, it's just gonna be the four of us in the van. So it'll be comfy, I think.
And looking at the dates, I see there's quite the stretch on the way back from Toronto to Regina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
do you think there's any possibility you might try to maybe somehow throw in like a, just thinking aloud, like a Thunder Bay date or a Sault Ste. Marie date or Brandon or something? Just something to, that's
Yeah,
a long haul. That's a
it
scary
is.
haul.
Yeah, it's a long haul. I did try for Thunder Bay and Sault Ste. Marie. Nothing really happened. I finally got in touch with somebody recently that like maybe we could throw in a Thunder Bay, but at the same time, with how close it is to the tour, I don't know if I'm just taxed from doing this since December that I'm like, I don't know, maybe I just want the routing to be done at this point.
Well, it's quite possible that it could be a blessing in disguise at that point once you're starting to make the ride home to have maybe that three, is it a 3 day window or 4 day window, I think, total from,
Yeah, I think it's three on that
yeah.
stretch back from Toronto to Regina.
So you quite likely may just need those for peace of mind.
Yeah, perhaps, especially nearer to the end of the tour.
Yeah. So now you said this is your most extensive tour thus far across Canada. Or is there maybe a chance down the road you might make it a bit further east, getting to the Maritimes? Because I know the Maritimes folks always feel like they're getting the shaft.
I know I felt really bad. There's actually some people already who have expressed sadness about us not making it the whole way, and I do feel bad, but when I was doing the routing, it's a month already, and it's about like an additional 10 hours one way to add like one or two more shows. So it's, you know, it would be quite a few more days on the road for like one or two more. And I was like, it's our first time. Maybe it's far enough. It sort of feels bad that we're going so far that we didn't just, may as well just do the whole thing. But I heard that shows on the East Coast are really hard to book and can be very iffy. So I thought, whatever, just get the main population centers of the eastern Canada.
Err on the side of caution, and we hope that any diehard fans will make the trek, perhaps from New Brunswick or Nova Scotia across to Quebec City.
Yeah,
Because again, at least it's a decent time of the year to make the haul.
yeah, hopefully. I mean, my mom's coming from New Brunswick to Quebec City, so
Well, maybe she can have a caravan of fans dragging behind. Now,
yeah.
now you talked about all these dates. Let people once again know that you put this together yourself, which is very admirable of you, and you should be very well congratulated for that, because that's a huge accomplishment. Must have been a huge pain in the ass, but also a great accomplishment at the same time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's a great learning experience, and I think I learned an important lesson because this Canadian tour is actually happening because last August I had reached out to a booking agent for us to try to do the US, knowing that the visa processing time here is about 10 months. So I figured if we're starting this process in August and we want to tour in July and or August, then that would be enough time. And some months rolled by and nothing happened and we got dropped. So we ran out of time to tour the US. And I also learned sort of the unfortunate lesson that if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. So I did the Canadian one myself after that.
But just the unnecessary headaches that you don't need in the process. But like you said, it's the learning thing, and you sadly have to be doing these things yourself most of the time to get it done properly and or on time. And that, yeah, relying on other people sometimes is just, yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily ideal.
Now, for people that are coming out that are maybe just seeing this interview and seeing you for the first time and hearing about the band for the first time, can you talk a bit about the band and your background and where you come from and what your influences and that sort of thing are?
Sure.
Gracious.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Where to start? I guess I have a pretty long background in like classical training. I started on classical piano when I was a kid, went through like the whole RCM, and then I discovered Slipknot in grade 2, and that was like a life-changing experience. Because before that, I like almost exclusively listened to classical music, so hearing that was like, whoa, I didn't know music like that exists, and that just sent me on like a dive through extreme music basically for the rest of my life. So I started playing guitar as a teenager. Was really obsessed with like Dimmu Borgir, Decapitated, Necrophagist, Behemoth, Morbid Angel, Suffocation, like kind of all the classics. And then I'm from Alberta, so I moved out here in 2014 and did a classical guitar program, which I was never planning on being like a classical guitarist. I just wanted to make myself a better musician and also get over my performance anxiety, which had held me up from jamming with people and doing anything as a teenager. And when you go to music school, you have to perform, otherwise you'll get kicked out. So it was a good way to force myself, and then I was able to start playing in bands. The first band I was in here was Acidic Death, like a old school death metal band. And then I played piano in a prog rock band, Orchestry. And then I played guitar in the Hallowed Catharsis for a long time. And I played guitar and bass in a Persian band for a few years. That was fun too. Just kind of getting the experience. And then I got tendonitis like 2020-ish, just from being in like 3 bands and Twitch streaming guitar for like 4 hours a day and video editing for my YouTube channel. So I got injured. I left the Hallowed Catharsis, used that time to learn how to do vocals and repaired my arm, and then started my own band doing guitar and vocals now that my injury is largely under control. And then, yeah, so I guess like the sound of Misyrion is sometimes just like brutal death metal, sometimes black metal, sometimes blackened death metal. And I guess that inspiration is that throughout my time playing in bands and like writing my own music, I've always gone back and forth between black metal and death metal, where I'll be like writing black metal songs, and I'm like, man, I just want to write some like brutal death metal, and then I'll start writing death metal, and then I'll miss black metal, but it's less like the combined blackened death metal for me, but I just want like slamming brutal death sometimes, and I want like sad black metal sometimes. So Misyrion, the concept with Kingdom of Misery was basically like a half and half, where the first half of the EP is just more death metal, and then the second half is more black metal. But of course, like the death metal and the black metal weave in and out of each other.
And that's
But that's
coming up on a year anniversary, first anniversary, correct?
yes, that's true. Yeah, I think June 20th.
Look out.
Yeah.
And then you're in the process of writing and recording some new material, I assume. Are you close to recording, or are you still in the process of putting the songs together?
Still very much in the process. I probably have around like 5 demo sort of stage places right now. I just finished my BFA in April, and for the last semester of school, I made a language that I'll be using for lyrics in Misyrion. So that was a really time consuming endeavor. But now that that's out of the way, I can focus more on the actual music part of it again.
So explain the language thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the Misyrion albums are all about these primordial celestial beings that I came up with that um, were birthed at the dawn of time in the fabric of space through pain and hatred. And so in the first album, which I'm backwards here. This is our album art. In that album concept, one of these beings takes the form of the sun, and so it can start controlling your mind and taking over people if you look into the sun, because it can enter your mind that way. So it just starts wreaking havoc, transports people to its own plane of eternal torture, and then supernovas the sun and destroys the planet. So that's one. The second album, which I'm working on right now, is on a new planet where people have formed a cult around the belief that they could harness the power from these beings and they themselves can then become immortal. So they're trying to call the beings to them. And another way that the beings can communicate with you is through the dream space, like people that are lucid dreamers or heavy dreamers. So they've put people like that into perpetual sleep states, and because of the beings feed off of negative energy, they're also like torturing them in that state so that it's sending out negative energy and bad dreams. So it calls them to them. And so the language I made is a telepathic mind control language that's weaponized, basically developed by I guess we'll just call them aliens, to control human beings. So whether they're in the sun and enter through your eyes, or if they enter your mind through the dream space, then they can start sending these communications directly into your brain, and then it will make you do things or feel things that are all just awful. And I had also done a research paper in my second year of school based on like physiologically what is the scariest sound for humans, like how it interacts with the brain and lights up our amygdala and stuff like that. So I tried to develop the sonic characters of the language, also referencing that. So hopefully it's like a scary ass language.
That is heavy duty. And not to steer away from your epic description there, but I was getting some flashbacks. A couple weeks ago, I interviewed Matt McGachy from Cryptopsy, and he was telling me the premise behind their new album, and Insatiable Violence, how he had this crazy dream that was so intense and so involved. And he's explaining it to me, and I'm just, what is this? But it's just incredible to hear the insight and the depth, and how just intense how vivid it all was just impressive. So to hear you describe this, it's like I'm having flashbacks. It's very intriguing, and I think it goes part and parcel with listening to your music and just the relentlessness and just the intensity but then it can also pull back and make you kind of a bit uneasy, but in a cool way, where you just, what's that? What's going to happen next? Which is pretty cool.
Thank you.
So is there any chance that you might have anything that you might be premiering on this run, or are you just sticking to what's already out there and saving what you're working on for later?
So actually, we did a small tour in April, and for that we added a Static X cover to the set.
It made it your vibe?
Yeah, I love Static X.
National? Yeah.
I actually have a picture of Wayne Static on my wall right there for inspiration. So, we started that for the April tour. It's like a death metal version of Anything But This. And so we'll be also performing that on the tour, and we're working on recording it, mixing, mastering right now. So hopefully we'll also be able to release that just like right before the tour starts. Um, and I also started doing a little bit of stuff in the language live as well. So the intro to the last song on the EP, Tiris, has that sort of like swirling, all those like whispery voices. That's supposed to be when people's consciousnesses are being transported to that other dimension. So I've started whisper screaming in the language over that part. So there's like sprinkles of things that are different to what people have maybe seen us do before, but in terms of brand new music, it's really just the Static X cover.
If people recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Have,
it's pretty different.
Now, I also wanted to ask you about Lobe, the
Yes.
yes, the 4D sound spatial audio studio that you are involved with. Tell
Hmm.
us about that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, so I feel like Loeb is a little bit of a hidden gem in Vancouver, so that's why I'd love to shout it out. So I'm an audio technician at this place. So it's a 4D sound spatial audio studio, and 4D sound I feel like immediately confuses people because they think about like 4D movies where there's like air and water and stuff like that, but it's not that. It's still only audio. We've also done like film screenings and stuff there, but it's just a specific software that basically treats sound as a physical object. So you can spatialize it in like any possible way you could imagine. It was developed by these guys in Amsterdam. And then they also developed their own omnidirectional speakers that are optimized for spatial sound. So we have 9 of those in the ceiling, 9 in the floor, and then 16 vibro transducers under every floor panel as well, which is really cool for any like lower or bass frequencies through the floor will vibrate a lot. So a really special part about Lobe because of those vibro transducers is that like deaf people can experience sound in a really interesting way in the studio. That's kind of a really cool highlight. But we have a lot of cool stuff going on there. Like I did, actually, it's what that is. The last 3 Halloweens in a row, I've done what's called my Inferno, where I made a sound design fully spatialized album of traveling through every layer of hell as according to Dante's Inferno. So it's all just like if you're in like the gluttony layer, there's the worm eating people in an icy reek of putrefaction, or if you're in like the heresy section, you're being burned alive, or if you're in the greed section, there's this huge like rock fall part. It's like a drowning section, and then we end with Satan, but it's really just a Nile breakdown. Yeah. So it's really fun. That's like the most extreme thing that's ever been at Lobe. But there's really cool events there. I also spatialized Misyrion's Kingdom of Misery in there. So the last Inferno, we had the Inferno listening, and then a spatialized version of the album. We also do like community jam nights there where you can just bring an instrument and then we'll plug you into the system and I'll turn you into a little spatial object and you jam with people and hear your sound run around. So it's a really cool space that I would love people to know more about. We have a multimedia art exhibition happening on June 14th from 2 to 10 p.m. It's just open all day. It probably takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours to experience all the pieces. So there's like sculptures, paintings, videos that have all have a piece of sound art paired with that visual art, and that is all being spatialized by me through the system. And that's just like a pay what you can event. So it's
Where
just
do people find Loeb? How do we contact
it's
you? Where are you located? Street address, web address, all that stuff.
yeah, I think it's lobe.ca, or maybe it's lobestudio.ca. We're on Instagram, just Lobe Studio. And the location is Hastings and Heatley, like pretty much right across the street from the Heatley. It's just got a gray door on it. It's, yeah, there'll probably be a sign on the multimedia art exhibition day. I think it's 713 East Hastings.
So East Van, couple blocks west of the Astoria, sort of ish around there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on the same block as the Astoria, actually.
there you go.
Yeah.
So
So really, really close. Yeah.
so lobe.ca.
Yeah. LOBE,
Nice.
like an earlobe.
How about that? Perfect.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to talk to you about, because I had a really good time with you there last couple months, and it was, certain circumstances we didn't have you out this past weekend, but it was awesome having you being a part of the Wacken Metal Battle Canada Western Canadian judges panel. I thought you did a kick-ass job. How was that for you?
Thank you so much. That was really fun. I'm very glad I was a part of it. I'm also very grateful to Mayo for asking me to do it. It was something, the first one I was really stressed out about because I was like, like who am I? I don't know. Like why do I get to have a say in people's art? But I think that it's such a good learning experience, like on both sides, you
Oh,
know, whether you're the band performing or a judge, because I'm, as a judge, watching it from the perspective of like, what can I say that I, like, at least in my opinion, will just genuinely make their live show better. And so then it's causing a lot of reflection on my end. Like, what would I say about my own performance? So I think I learned a lot and was able to take away a lot of it for myself as well, which is really beneficial. And it's also just really fun. And also hearing like what all the other judges have to say is really cool too, because you see that, obviously everybody has different opinions, but there are still a fair amount of through lines. A lot of people had similar thoughts a lot of the time. There's certain things, so you're like, okay, this is a common thread. So am I doing this live? Like, is there anything I can change in reference to that? Stuff like that.
yeah, and it seemed all in all that I would, not to speak for all the judges, but our intention is to try to not sugarcoat things either, but you definitely want to be as supportive as possible and trying to point them in the right direction, um,
Mhm.
but trying to be, yeah, as real as you can. And I thought your descriptive advice, the way you explain things to the bands and so forth, I thought was really, really smart and accurate and just well spoken. So once again, I think you did a great job, and hopefully you're back again next year for it.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope to be back. How was the last one?
The last one was pretty cool because, again, as you know, the first few rounds were at the smaller venue at the Cobalt. So with the final being at the Rickshaw, it definitely has the Rickshaw Theater for those listening out of town. Bigger room, definitely has much more of a larger vibe. But it was, you're seeing three other bands that you've never seen before for the first time. But as soon as that first band started, I felt at least, yeah, you clearly won your region. You could just tell that there was a certain level of professionalism, stronger songs, just looking like a band, better command of the stage, and just overall presentation. So it's like, yeah, you clearly won your region. Next band up, yeah, you clearly won your region. So as a whole, it made the evening really tough, but it should be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also it was like, man, this is going to be really hard to choose. So Soul Thief, Yeg, and Killaton, who won, and Beyond Suffering from Alberta, all did a great job, and any one of those bands could have won.
Nice. What do you think? made Guillotine win?
Well, this is the tough one. I think one of the things that made them win, and that's the thing, is that I would have been easily happier with one of the other bands to advance. I think what probably helped them, I think sometimes just being on last. They were the last band.
Mm,
Anyways, that's what's most fresh in your mind. So,
right.
but I always try to make a conscious effort of that going into these shows judging, that I don't want to lose track of what happened before. But
Yeah.
also just with them being more of traditional metal sense, which also helped add a nice variety to the evening. I think they will definitely be well received as far as playing in front of the German crowd.
Mm,
I can't not deny that it would have been nice to have something else, not even if, whether I'm saying that it's one of the other bands, but something that I would feel that would perhaps represent Canada as something of its own. And they were a great band, Guillotine. I hope they do well. And yeah, really good guys. Like strong band, good songs, memorable, hooky, good vibe. But just something that felt a bit more home rather than something that I felt had a bit more of a classic new wave of British heavy metal vibe at times,
mm.
maybe with a little bit of German thrash in there at times. So yeah, it'll definitely be well received, but would have been nice to have something a bit more unique to our country.
Right. Fair enough.
That's,
I think that's also a tricky thing, like something I was thinking about as a judge was the the benefit of going later because you can hear the critique of every band before you. That's what I thought that with the Wacken battle opening would be the hardest because you don't have the benefit of hearing what they think, especially in terms of like presence. If someone is saying like, "Oh, you should have done this and like moved here and done this," then you can clock that for your own performance. I think that
well,
it's
well,
tricky.
well, here's the thing. Unless they changed it recently, as far as I know, our region was the only region that was doing any critiques since day one.
Oh,
Nobody, no other region has been doing that. So the bands would play and often kind of wonder, like, what are the four, five, six judges out there thinking? And obviously, they might get a bit of a vibe for maybe a crowd response, but they don't really know. They're not really getting any feedback. So that's the thing, is
interesting.
it. So three, as far as I know, three of the four bands that would have played at the final aren't used to that. And to be totally blunt, I would have not have been surprised. And I said it to the first band, Soul Thief. I said, I could see you winning right now. Like, I don't know if we really need to see anybody else, because I would be fine if you won because you're that good.
Wow.
And it just seemed to carry on that level from there, that there was no band that seemed to dip. Like everybody was super, super even, which of course made it that much more challenging for all of
Yeah.
us to go with one. But yeah, it's really hard, because that's the thing too, is that it's not just, you want to get past what do you like. Of course, you want it to be something you like, but I always try on my level to look beyond that. What is,
Hmm.
doesn't matter what flavor I like, where you're from, that sort of thing. It's like also looking who's going to perhaps benefit the most from the experience.
Hmm.
That right there is huge. Who's showing hunger? Who's more brand new and more inexperienced, but just shows a lot of drive and want to get better, and they're just willing to absorb information.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Rather than, okay, yeah, you have it all sorted, you're pretty polished, but at the same time, maybe you're a bit stubborn and think you are a bit of a know-it-all, and you don't need to hear anything from anybody else because you're just that slick.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
always going to be those. But yeah, it's always nice to see some people that are bands that are a bit green, perhaps, where it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
let's just go. And they're just ready to go. And it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sick. I wish I could have been there. I'm sure everybody was awesome. I was looking forward to seeing them.
But yeah, once again, congrats to Guillotine. You did a phenomenal job, and I'm sure you'll be doing a very swell job in Germany in August. Now, once again, we got your big tour starting July 4th. We're reminding everybody again, Misyrion starting in Victoria on July 4th, wrapping up in Vancouver on August the 2nd. Where can we get stuff if we can't, we can't come see a show? I'm sorry, we're stuck. We're stuck in Mirramuk. Is it Mirramuk, New Brunswick? We're stuck there. We can't make the drive, but we'd like to support the band. Where can we go buy your stuff?
Few different places. So probably the easiest to remember is just Misyrion.com. So Misyrion.com. From there, there's a link that goes to our Big Cartel. So Misyrion.bigcartel.com is where we have physical merch. We've got CDs and shirts. Right now, that's all on lock because I need to take it on tour. All that stuff needs to go with me on tour. But we do have sweatsuits, all white sweatsuits with purple logos, black sweatsuits with green logos. That I'm not taking on tour because it's not really a summer item. So once I'm back from tour, that'll be on the web store, and whatever doesn't sell on tour will be on the web store. We have like jerseys coming in, hats, patches. We have a bunch of different t-shirts, long sleeve. I think I said CDs already. A tour t-shirt, stuff like that coming through. So yeah, if there's anything left over, that'll be on the website. We also have like a Bandcamp if you want to just purchase the digital. And then other ways to support is just watching my YouTube channel. Claine's World is very helpful for us. It helps get the word out there, helps generate some traction for our band, and then just following us on also on YouTube, Misyrion, and Instagram, also Misyrion _.
There you go. And tickets as well can be purchased through your website for the shows?
Yep, Misyrion.com/concerts.
And then there's probably some select independent outlets in various cities selling the show tickets as well?
Yeah, so I just have buttons hyperlinked to every ticket link for each promoter. Some of it's Eventbrite, some of it's TicketWeb, all that sort of stuff. So you can just find all of that is funneled through Misyrion.com. And then some ticket links are not yet available, but they'll all be up within the coming weeks. A couple of them are just door sales. I think Lethbridge and Kamloops, potentially also Slocan, are the only ones that are just pay at the door. Everybody else will have a online ticket vendor very soon. Lots of them are up already, but just a few we're waiting on.
You are prepared. People get ready. It's going to be a good summer. Lots going on. I hope that you have a very promising, awesome, safe travels. Make some money. No headaches, no breakdowns.
No vehicle breakdowns, but a lot of musical breakdowns.
Yeah, exactly. No vehicle break-ins. I hate hearing those stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Please, you don't need that. But
yeah.
But everybody, please check out Misyrion on tour, starting in Victoria on July the 4th, wrapping up in Vancouver on August the 2nd. And this is Claine Gorgoth Lamb on Different Stages Radio.
Thank you so much, JJ.